Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day three of the 8-day National Online Conclave on Dialogues in English Studies, Contemporary Approaches to Pedagogy, Research, and Practices. We're delighted to begin the session, and we look forward to another day of meaningful conversations, critical reflections, and engaged learning. Today, we have with us Dr. Sarika M., Senior Curriculum Associate at Create the Hub. It is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker. She is an accomplished academic whose work reflects both depth of scholarship and sustained commitment to English language education. She is a graduate of Etheraj College for Women, Chennai. She holds both her undergraduate and postgraduate degrees in English, securing outstanding academic distinctions, including the overall medal for MA English and the highest aggregate marks across all 4 semesters. Dr. Sarika earned her PhD from Government Arts College, Coimbatore in 2024, where her thesis was awarded the distinction of highly commended. She is also a NET qualified scholar, having cleared the UGC NET examination in July 2016. Professionally, Dr. Sarika has served as an assistant professor at Banariamman Institute of Technology and in the same role at VET Institute of Arts and Science in Erode. She joined CREATE in July 2025 and has since been an instrumental architect in building of platforms and curriculum across both offline and online arenas. Her teaching experience spans language, literature, and soft skill based courses, enriched by her exposure to varied pedagogic approaches. Her academic engagements extend beyond the classroom. She is presented at international conferences, participated in national workshops, and completed several MOOC-based programs, including courses offered by IIT Guwahati, World Learning, and Iowa State University. Her interest in global communication is very much reflected in her proficiency in German, having completed levels A1 through B1 at the Goethe Institute in Chennai, after which she's been a very sought after German trainer across institutions in Tamil Nadu. With a strong academic grounding, research orientation, and interdisciplinary exposure, Dr. Sarika always brings valuable insights into contemporary ELT and learner centered pedagogy. We are very delighted to welcome her to this session and look forward to her presentation. In today's session titled Web Series in ELT Classroom, Bridging Entertainment and Evidence-Based Pedagogy, Dr. Sarika will discuss how popular medical web series or a general web series can serve as effective pedagogic tools in English language classroom, especially for Gen Z learners. We've been discussing Gen Z learners in the previous class, and this series has the protagonist with Savant syndrome, linking it to our very first session on disability studies. Drawing on her classroom based research, she'll illustrate how the Good Doctor series can support the development of vocabulary, syntax, and discourse competence among students in healthcare related disciplines, if not across all disciplines. The session will also outline practical strategies for learner engagement and demonstrate the potential of contextual, technology enabled approaches within contemporary ELT. We are pleased to have her with us today and look forward to the perspective she will bring to our discussions. Before we begin, dear participants, if you have questions to ask, you may please share them in the chat box or in the Q&A from now onwards. You do not have to wait till the Q&A session, and select questions will be posted to the resource person at the end. Please raise any other queries you might have on your WhatsApp support number. And for now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Sarika, and I request her to take over for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Kavya. That was a very meticulous introduction. Thank you so much. And the pleasure is always mine to be connected to you and to our created hub. The work, what we are doing, you're actually taking it to people, making people understand what create is all about. And you also don't just stop there, you go above and beyond to do more for the academia. That is very commendable, actually. I'm
Thank you so
happy to be
much.
part of Create as always.
Oh, it's always reciprocal then.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we can get into the session now.
Yes. Yes.
So, good evening, everyone, to all the participants. As you can see, today's topic is web series in ELT classrooms, bridging entertainment and evidence based pedagogy. Okay, so I'm Dr. Sarika. So I'm very delighted to share this pedagogical journey that blends students' interest, digital media, and also, very importantly, evidence based English language teaching. Before delving into this, I would like to first talk about the learners that we teach and the current educational landscape that we are in. Okay, we'll start with that. Let me quickly change the slides. Yeah. So today's classroom is completely different. We all know that. And we also, few of us have started to accept the change. And we have also started to implement new things like including technology in one way or the other. Yes, that happened especially after COVID, I'll say, during and after COVID. So the generation that we teach today, the Gen Z, yes, they are raised on screens and interactivity. So their attention follows relevance. Only when the content is relevant, their attention stays. That is how Generation Z is. So now, when we are teaching Generation Z, there is a shift from passive learning to this active involvement of technology. This is not a trend. I'm telling you, this is not a trend. This is here to stay. It is a transformation. So now English instruction today needs to be very relevant, interactive, multimodal, especially multimodal, and also very, very enjoyable. They expect that from us. We didn't expect that. For us, education is a very different stream, but students now, they expect us to be enjoyable. Okay. So our higher education system, it has already made strong strides in this, because when we see at the syllabus that they have created, I'm sorry, one second. Yeah. So when we look at the syllabus that has been created, it is actually good. The basic syllabus, when I tell syllabus, I'm talking about engineering syllabus, because we are going to be exclusively talking about engineering and allied health departments. Okay. So engineering syllabus or health sciences, all these, they have a professionally designed syllabus, English syllabus. It is a great foundation, no doubt about it. But then it lacks in certain areas, because when I say, we have a communication English syllabus, right, for engineering students, but that syllabus is common for all the streams. Mechanical doesn't have a separate communication English. Biotech and biomedical doesn't have a separate communication English. Yeah, I hope I'm transferring my idea. So now that is where all these media comes into play, and as teachers, how we can enhance the learning of the students. So English language teaching for specialized disciplines remains underexplored. There are only limited studies that focus on teaching English to engineering disciplines. That too, specialized English needs are very, very underexplored. Okay. As you can see, research is lacking in addressing the technical language need. This is the very, very important thing. Technical language need of biotech and biomedical disciplines. You can also add in nursing and allied health sciences also. So this always remains underexplored. Now, why web series? Here, when I say underexplored, we can use media as a tool. But why specifically web series is because there are a lot of media that we can use in classroom. We have been using short random clips, movie clips. We have also used series clips. Sometimes we don't even know that it is a series. And we have seen researches done using songs. Yes, there are variety of media, but here I've chosen web series as a tool, because of a few powerful reasons. One, as you can see, as we all know, all of us have been watching web series, there are a lot of seasons in a web series. And in each season, there is a minimum of 8 to 10 episodes, right? So, web series is a very powerful tool because there is consistency of characters and storyline. Since the series is a very long running show, the directors put a lot of effort in creating characters, in how the characters evolve, and how the story also evolves. And there is multimodal input. Multimodal input is not specific to web series, but to multimedia as such. And there is natural and very authentic language use. And characters from different countries are there. So students are exposed to various dialects also. Since the series runs for a longer running time, we can take it as an advantage for us. There is longer learning period also. So these are very few reasons. There are a lot of reasons. These are the major reasons why series can be considered as a more effective and efficient tool compared to other forms of media, multimedia that is available. Now, why specifically good doctor? So the departments or the disciplines that is of our concern is all everything that is related to medical. So there are a lot of medical dramas. I am sure most of you know Grey's Anatomy, and there is ER, and there are various other shows. But why specifically Good Doctor is because this kind of sits at the intersection of healthcare training and language learning. So here they have a unique protagonist who's, as Dr. Kavya told, he is someone who has autism and also has Savant syndrome. And this show has been critically acclaimed by many people for its medical accuracy and realistic portrayal of medical procedures. So these come into play when we choose a right series for our students because they are going to learn from it, and it is as teachers our responsibility to ensure that the content that is given to them is at least close to reality. So these also play an important role in choosing the right series or the right content for our students. And this show has authentic clinical terminology and the emphasis on patient care that is so beautifully dealt in this entire series. Other series focus more on technical terms and terminology, whereas here patient care also takes a front seat. Okay, so these are the reasons why the Good Doctor has been chosen. Most of you may not have seen the series. For all those, I'll give you just a gist of what this is about. You can watch the show on Netflix Prime or Sony Live. Various seasons are available across various platforms. So, what is this Good Doctor all about? Good Doctor is a series that follows the life of Dr. Sean Murphy. He's a young surgeon with autism and Savant syndrome. He has moved to San Jose St. Bonaventure Hospital to start a surgical residency. So he starts as a surgical resident, not as a doctor. So this show explores the complexities of medical diagnoses, treatments, and the ethical dilemmas that the doctors and the patients face. So all the things that are necessary for our students from their career perspective. So how the research was started is we focused on the three linguistic dimensions. So we started exploring how the lexical choices, that is the vocabulary, and syntactic structures, the syntax, and the discourse is used throughout the series. This was done by multiple viewing of all the episodes and then analyzing the dialogues that are used. Analysis were done on vocabulary, syntax, and discourse. This was the groundwork that was laid. Because without this, we do not know, if we do not know whether this has the appropriate vocabulary, syntactic structure, and discourse that is necessary for the students to be learned, there is no point in randomly choosing a series and then showing it to the students and expecting them to learn something from them. Yes. So this was the starting point. The focus was on these three linguistic structures. Unlike the major researches that are available already, you can go and see various researches that are done. It would have been done on improving the speaking skills of students, or using web series to improve the listening skills of students, or improving the reading or writing skills. So people always design their research around the LSRW skills. This research is slightly differs from the usual research, because this research is meant to be something that is very deep and something that gives a solid idea and a solid result. So the focus was on vocabulary, syntax, and discourse of the language that is used in the Good Doctor. And the next step was to assess the learning gains of the students, again based on these three linguistic dimensions. So, to give a sample or to give an overall idea, when I say vocabulary, the entire series was analyzed for the various word formation processes that are used, like prefix, suffix, acronyms, compounding, clipping, and everything, contextual vocabulary. And by syntax, various types of sentences used, the voices used, direct and indirect speeches used. When does a character use direct speech? When does a character use active voice, or when do they use passive voice? All those things. And by discourse, we meant the discourse of language used by various characters throughout the show. As the show proceeds, the students also understood that the discourse of every character is not the same. Each character has its own discourse based on their personality. There is a doctor called Claire Brown. She is naturally a very empathetic person. So her discourse always runs like that. Whenever a patient needs to be convinced, or whenever a relative of a patient needs to be convinced to undergo a surgery or to approve a surgery, all the other doctors will always ask Claire to do the job, because that is her discourse, that is her language. So students were also able to understand how their each character's personality is reflected in the language that they use. And they also understood how hierarchy in hospital also plays an important role in the language that they use. And then we analyze the discourse of language in patient doctor interactions, how doctors use simplified language, what type of sentences they use when they are conveying ideas to patients. And we also analyze the discourse of language in medical professionals communication, as in the communication between doctors, doctor to doctor or doctor to their higher officials. Yes, just to give an overview of what I meant by saying vocabulary, syntax, or discourse. This was the overall research design. This is a very simplified and a condensed form. Yeah, this is the research design. It started like all research. This started with selecting the target population, and then a pretest was conducted for all the students in the target population, and then the students were divided into control and experimental group randomly. I have to mention this. They have randomly been divided into control and experimental group. After that, the intervention happened. Intervention, as in the use of media, the Good Doctor happened for it happened over a period of 3 months, and after that, post test was conducted. And of course, while the intervention happened, we were conducting tests to students, but the post test was taken into consideration just for the research purpose. So a pre-test, division of students into control and experimental group randomly, intervention only for the experimental group. The control group took their usual English classes. That's it. Intervention happened only for the experimental group. And then a post test was conducted and data analysis were done based on the test results. So for example, if we take vocabulary, I'll show you a sample lesson structure. Usually, it starts with watching a scene that involves a clinical dialogue. Almost all the scenes in The Good Doctor is appropriate and can be chosen for classroom purposes. And students were made to understand, or the students were made to list the unfamiliar terms. And it was actually quite surprising for us as teachers also, because when certain words were given randomly as a list, students were not able to identify the meaning of those words, the technical terms. When I say words, I mean the technical terms that are used in their genre. But when they heard the some words in the while watching the show, through the cues that are available from the scene, from the context, they were able to come to a conclusion for to understand that these must be the meanings of these words. So context played a very, very important role in helping students understand meanings of various technical terms. So the focus was on vocabulary explanation and to understand the contextual clues that was there. And application was done on various varieties of activities. For example, short group discussion using the new terms that they have learned, or assessments like one word substitution or MCQs, all those that can be used to check the vocabulary of the students. Initially, we started with MCQs and one word substitution, and as classes went by, we improved the assessment pattern to a lot of writing activities also, to see how effectively they were able to implement whatever they have learned. And when I say syntax, the students were made to observe the communication of the characters, the pattern of communication, to understand what type of sentences were used in what kind of scenarios. And then peer correction were also used. We asked students to start using the same kind of sentences in a very closed environment, and peer correction started happening. And from assessment point of view, we did a lot of things like how we test students for syntax, right? Conversion of sentences, or a scenario was given and then they have to write the entire clinical discourse in one particular type of syntax, like that. And then by discourse, the entire flow of language is discourse, right? So again, students, when they were after watching a scene, discussion happened. They were asked to identify various discourse markers. And as students started watching longer lengths of videos, they understood how to organize ideas, how there should always be a beginning and then a concise content and then the conclusion. We used activities like a mini role play sessions or presenting medical cases. And from assessment point of view, writing a very cohesive incident report. So discourse is very, very important to them, not just because they are learners, but they have to communicate like professionals. That is very, very important for them, right? Especially for their departments. This, whatever I've given, is a very a simple skeleton, but as teachers, we know our students, and it is up to us to create a variety of lessons and a variety of activities also. We'll get into the actual research part. See, these are the pre-test score analysis of the control group. As you can see, majority of students fall under the range of 20 to 30 marks. So the test was conducted for 50 marks, the minimum being 0 and the maximum being 50. So most of the students were under the category of 20 to 30 marks. As you can see, around 82% were under that 20 to 30 group range. And this was the post-test analysis of the control group again. They did not undergo the intervention. They just took their regular English classes. That's it. So throughout the semester, after learning the syllabus that was provided for them, there was an improvement, of course, but not a significant one. From 82%, it has reduced to 77%. Students who scored between 20 to 30. A few students jumped to the next category of 30 to 40. This is like the comparison chart. As you can see, 20 to 30 slightly came down, 30 to 40 improved. Now, this is the pretest score analysis of the experimental group. So, as I told you, when you're doing research in ELT, always randomly dividing students into control and experimental group is always better, because if you divide students if you divide students who have got good marks into experimental group, it will completely affect your end result also. So here also you can see 20 to 30 percentage, 20 to 30 mark range is the highest, around 83. The same was there for the control group also. So from this you can understand that both the experimental and the control group were on the same level before the intervention. Now we have given intervention to the experimental group. So after the intervention, you can see a significant difference. 20 to 30 has reduced from around 83 to 48, and 30 to 40 has drastically improved. Yeah, I think it is clearly visible in this bar chart. 20 to 30 has almost come down to half, and 30 to 40 range has significantly increased, and 40 to 50 have also started. Students who did not score between 40 to 50 in the pre-test now have started scoring also. Yes, so this is the analysis part. Let us say the analysis part. Now, what made this work? This is the important, I guess, this is the important part of this entire session. So, what made it work is there are very powerful reasons why this approach led to this measurable language improvement. First, and the most important thing, the learning was contextualized. Yes, the series takes place in a real medical environment, something biotech, biomedical, and nursing students are deeply connected to. Yes, so they were able to contextually understand everything that was happening. They weren't learning vocabulary randomly from a book. They were seeing it used in action, like in hospital emergencies, diagnoses, ethical discussions, and all those things. So, contextual learning is always for the win. I'm telling you, if you want your students to learn something, give them with context. We have been using, like, for example, when a student asks meaning for a certain word, as teachers, I'm sure most of us have done it. We don't give the meaning of the word directly. We give a sentence with a word in it and we ask the student to try to understand what the word means, right? And we have seen the difference. So this is just a large scale version of it. So contextualized learning always helps with language acquisition in students. And the second one is emotional engagement. Students are emotionally invested in the show. Yes, so they're not just very passive viewers. They empathize with all the characters, the patients. They also feel the urgency of a surgery when it happens on the screen. When emotions are activated, the brain remembers language better. They were able to retain it better, all the language that they have learned. That's cognitive science, right? When their brain is very invested, learning happens rapidly and also in a very good manner. And the third important reason is authentic communication. This can be achieved by choosing a right series. When you choose a right content, then authentic communication happens. Here, students were exposed to authentic communication. Every interaction is how English is actually spoken in hospitals. The entire show's English is like exactly how it happens in a hospital, be it a persuasion or a clarification or a negotiation. So all communication skills they will need in internships and their clinical postings. So then finally, the learner anatomy, that is watching independently and then doing reflective tasks. Learner anatomy cannot be achieved in like one day or 1 week or even 1 month. Learner anatomy takes time. Learner anatomy also based on the level of the student. Yes. And the next one is multimodal exposure. Students are exposed to language in multiple ways. They heard it, They saw it on screen happening, they read it through the subtitles, and they applied it in classroom through the various activities that we give them. So, the language reinforcement happened in multiple ways. So, when students care about the content, learning becomes very effortless and also it becomes very meaningful. It is not in a very forced manner. So, these are the things that made it work. So, whatever you plan for your students, especially that is related to media, your first step is to check whether the content that you're choosing is contextually appropriate and associated with your students' department or their learning needs. That is very, very important. Like, for example, let us say for a set of biomedical biotech students, like how we have chosen, if I am to put them a law series or series that involves law, learning, of course, will happen. No doubt about it. English learning will happen. But in what way is it beneficial to them, to their career also? And in what way it is beneficial to them in improving their technical language? That will become a very big question mark. So I think as teachers, it is our foremost responsibility to select a media that is contextually relevant for our students. And what teachers do, the mistake the teachers do is right away they'll give learner anatomy. They'll just, I've seen teachers who assign episodes to students. Today you can watch this episode, and a very random task, right? Like write essay or write your opinion about the episode. That is in no way useful either to the teacher or to the student. So whenever you decide to use media in your classroom, make sure you design the other parts also. In that way you'll be able to measure the language learning that has happened. I'll anyway be talking about it in the next few slides. So now practical applications for teachers. As you can see, what's powerful about this approach is you can use this for any discipline. You can choose any type of series or a movie. Yes, this is not only restricted to healthcare programs. As I told you, the key is aligned episode selection. Select episodes that are linked to your course goals. And always, always, always plan tasks. Plan a pre, while, and post activity. We have so many AI tools to help us with all those things. So always plan a pre, while, and post activity. That way, as researchers also, it will help you to measure the language learning that has happened. Unless you have something solid in a paper or in a Google sheet, you will never know how much the students have learned. Everything goes to a waste. And prioritize vocabulary, pragmatics, discourse. That is the point of view that I've chosen for this research. Now you can change it based on your course goals. Whatever you want your students to learn, prioritize that and design tasks around your course goals. And encourage reflective writing and peer discussion. Because the students that we are dealing with now, they are the Gen Z. They are so very enthusiastic about letting their opinions out. They want their opinions to be heard. So this is the right crowd. We have had a crowd earlier, not the Gen Z, the generation before that, who were very hesitant to tell their opinion, who didn't even have opinion. But the current generation that we have, they are very, very oral. They want to voice out their opinion. So always give a lot of reflective writing and peer discussion. There should be an outlet for them to tell their opinion in both written and spoken form. And also,
Dear participants, just stay on the line for a moment. The speaker has encountered a internet difficulty. You should be back in a moment. In the meantime, if you have any comments to share, we might discuss that in the platform now. She's back and she'll be with us in a minute.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. We can see
Yeah,
you.
I think it got disconnected.
Yeah, I hope so. That
Yeah,
was
okay,
what
okay. I'll reconnect it now.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me a minute. Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
okay. Okay, I'll continue. So, as I was telling, we should encourage this Gen Z to be reflective of their opinion through writing and also through speaking. And the next one is to use subtitles strategically. Because when you start a course, when you start exposing students to media, and you also know your students, right, whether they are able to understand without subtitles or with subtitles. Our students will also be a very mixed crowd, right? So initially you can start out with subtitles, but slowly reduction of subtitles is very, very necessary, because unless
Ma'am, we are not able to hear you fully. Sarika, ma'am, we're not able to hear you. No, ma'am. Yeah, I think the issue is with the other participants also. You're on mute, ma'am.
am I
Can you check the mute status another time, ma'am?
Yes, yes, I have checked, ma'am. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Yeah, my screen is not visible.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, you'll have to reshare.
Oh, okay, I'll reshare. I don't know what the technical issue is. Give me
Not
a
a problem.
minute.
It happens to all of us.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So yes, we have to strategically reduce using these subtitles to students. Why? Because if we prolong this usage of subtitles, what happens is students will what I can say, they'll miss the non-verbal clues that are happening on the screen. They'll miss those hand gestures, everything that happens on the scene, and they'll focus only on the subtitles. And then assessing the output is also very important, as this is important for us teachers and also researchers especially. Always plan a way to assess the output. Don't just randomly assign a task, ask them to write a one page essay, collect it and keep it somewhere in your table. No, that is completely unproductive. Even if you do a very small task, make sure to assess the output by giving them various tasks and getting answers from them, and recording those answers and recording those marks. Because this is not just for viewing, right? As researchers, it is for us to for research purpose also. And also promote independent viewing habits. This can be done only when the learner becomes what I can say, become autonomous learners. Then you can give independence to the viewing habits of the students. Yeah, I am audible, right, ma'am? I'm just checking.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, okay.
suggested activities, this is not necessary for our community, because as teachers we come up with various a variety of activities for our students. We know what suits best for our students, but I've just given a general idea, especially pertaining to this discipline. So you can do, as always, role plays. Our students specifically enjoyed this, playing doctor patient and doctor, reenacting the episodes from the series. That can be done. And transcript and subtitle analysis, this is something that was very interesting. We can take subtitles of all the episodes that is available on internet. So subtitle analysis can be given as a task for students. That is also called transcript analysis. So instead of rewatching the episode multiple times, whenever it is not possible, we can give the students subtitles and ask them to analyze for various syntactic structures that are being used. And we also encourage students to maintain a collocation log, or a technical vocabulary log, or a terminology log, that helps students in the longer run with their major subjects also. While and giving writing activities, you can give clinical incident summaries, or summarize an entire surgical procedure that happened. Discussions, students enjoyed a lot of discussion that was based on ethics and empathy rather than discussing about surgeries. They were able to write about surgeries a lot, from my observation. When it comes to discussion, as in speaking, they were far more interested in talking about ethics, whether or not this should be done or this should not be done, and the empathy part of this medical scenario. Critical reasoning tasks can also be done. Diagnosis justification, why only certain specific diagnosis is right, or why certain specific treatment is right. All those things can be done. All these are pertaining to this discipline. I'm telling it again. So they have to watch, they have to understand, and as teachers we have to assess it to see how they are producing or reproducing the language or the content that they have learned. So challenges, I have listed out a few challenges. These are the challenges that a teacher will face initially if they're using media for the first time in the classroom. One is distraction. As I told you, distraction will happen only if you don't plan anything. Randomly, if you play a video from YouTube for 3 minutes, there will be distraction, because students will want to watch a different thing. We will also not have a clear idea about what to display. So to avoid distraction and changing multiple videos, clear your pre, while, and post activities. Number two is sensitive and graphic content. This is also a very major thing. Before displaying anything to the students, as teachers, it's our responsibility to view it once, to check if it is appropriate for our students, for their age group. So careful episode curation and content is also necessary. Time limitation was there, because initially I cannot just open Amazon Prime and play one entire episode. That is not possible also. So time limitation, set time limitation when you start something in your classroom. Start from 3 to 7 minute videos. When students are able to learn, when they're able to understand everything, and slowly you can increase the time period to either 15 minutes or a half an hour videos. And over dependence, this we discussed. Over dependence on subtitles should be reduced. That should be done by the teacher. And unequal access to streaming, this also happens if you do not download a video in your classroom. If you decide to play it directly from your streaming platform, then students get distracted by the various other content that are available in the same platform. So it is always better in the initial stages to download your videos, clip your videos, only show the necessary ones to the students, check for sensitive and graphic content. And off task viewing is like telling students to go and watch this entire episode in your home. That can be done only in the later part, when students become autonomous learners, when they understand their role as students, as in, why is it being given to me, what should I understand from this, what are the tasks that should be done after this. Students will get a clear idea of it once they go through this, once they start doing this. So after a certain period of time, maybe a month or so, you can give viewing tasks that can be done at home. But other than that, it is always good to start and keep it within the classroom. So from scaffolded learning to learner anatomy, how this can be achieved? Again, I'm telling you, this is absolutely based on the level of students that you have in your class. Initially, you can have very structured tasks and very crisp videos in your classroom, and you can gradually give them independence. One you can do is reduce teacher intervention. Like, you don't have to pause your video every 20 seconds to ask students, did you note this, did you write this word? That kind of teacher intervention can be reduced gradually, and longer scenes can be watched at home. That can be given to students as homework, and they can self manage their vocabulary logs that can be checked by teacher every once in a while. Or even better, what we did is we collaborated all the students in a Google Doc so that everybody uploaded the vocabulary that they started learning. So by the end of the intervention, they had one massive list of all the terminology that was used in the show that was essential for their other subject, the major subject also. And reflective viewing journals, you can encourage students to write journals, but I don't know. I don't know if it is the mentality of our students, especially the Indian students. Journal writing is like a task to them. They don't want to do it. We tried doing it, but it was not that successful to at least the kind of students, the batch of students that I handled. And finally, the final phase is learner anatomy. This can be achieved if your students start as above average students. By above average, I mean they're already good in English. They can understand videos without subtitles. If your students are that kind of students, learner anatomy can be easily achieved like within a semester also. They get to choose their episodes. Even when you stop episodes in classroom, they'll go home, they'll watch. Learning, incidental learning happens. They just think that they are watching videos, but incidentally they are learning also. That happens. But learner anatomy, as I told, we always provide the scaffolding. Learner anatomy comes at a much later period in their learning space. So they learn at their own space, and they also apply vocabulary. This also happens. This happens when initially it consciously happens. We tell them to use vocabulary in their classrooms, but then later it happens naturally, and they become like self-directed viewers. By self-directed viewers, they understand, okay, this is very interesting and this is also useful for me. Let me watch this and let me learn something. They'll come to that kind of clarity, but it takes time. Scope for further research: if there are researchers in this crowd, this same research can be extensively done on various streams by choosing an appropriate series or a group of movies for them. And comparative research can be done, like you can choose other forms of medical resources like medical journals or medical documents. How that helps to improve the vocabulary, syntax, and discourse of students, or the overall English of students, and compared to this present research, that can be done. And you can also examine how long-term retention of this language happens when OTT's media is being used to students. Other recommendations: what institutions can do is they can collaborate, they can create collaboration between language learners, language teachers, and subject experts. Because as I told, contextual learning is the new thing. So they always learn better with context. So when subject experts and language teachers come together and create content, that becomes far more effective. And the next thing that can be done is content creators, they can develop educational guides and lesson plans. Teachers also can do. As teachers, we can also, when we choose a particular series, when we design tasks, we can create kind of a repository so that it will be available for all teachers to take lesson plans and to take tasks from there to use it in the classroom, that is based on popular shows and movies. There are a few available online, but it can be very what can I say, it can be streamlined so that it will be effective for the entire community. And this is far-fetched from reality, but yeah, streaming platforms, the various streaming platforms that are there, they know that students are also using, the students are the major consumers that are using their platform. So at the end of each episode, some kind of quiz can be incorporated so that it kind of gives a small learning experience to the students. That can also be done. So to conclude, what I can tell is this started as a classroom action research kind of thing, but the result was actually tremendous. Result was really good. The students also, the best part is students enjoyed doing it. Even after we stopped the intervention, there were students who finished the series and who started watching other medical dramas also. So there are students like that also. um, I just wanted today to tell everybody or to show everybody that this kind of research is possible, and how it can be done in a very structured manner, so that as researchers we also get a good result. Other than we student speaking is also there, but from a research perspective you should also get a good result from your research. That can also be achieved through all these means. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, I think we can move to that, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, ma'am. Just give us a second. We
Yes,
have
yes,
a
yes.
lot of questions actually coming up in the
Okay.
chat section. Uh,
Okay.
can you, one moment, please. Can you explain the structure of ELT paper while including survey method of analysis? So I think they're asking about when you write a research paper, then how do you structure it so that you show your survey methodology and results?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To give a brief, to give us kind of skeleton kind of output for a survey kind of thing, one thing I'll tell is survey method that if you're using survey method in your ELT, that can be used only by students, because that is a kind of beginner research. Okay, survey method of analysis is when you're doing a research in ELT, it is always better to do research where you collect a lot of data by conducting like a pre-test and a post-test, and an analysis had to be in. That shows as an effective research. But of course, if you're at a beginner stage, if you're a budding researcher and if you want to do survey method, then in ELT what you can do is, of course, you will give your synopsis, and then you do how ELT has evolved so far. You will present the current scenario, and then you will move. Don't talk about. I have seen a lot of ELT papers that talk about what we have studied in colleges. I don't know how many of you remember. They'll start from grammar translation, then task based learning, then that is not necessary. We are in an era where we are doing eclectic approach. There is something called eclectic approach, which means that a teacher, it is up to the teacher to use whichever kind of method is that goes or works for their students. We can mix all those methods. We are not stuck in that one method works for everybody. We have come past it. So talk about eclectic approach, and talk about how what kind of approach that you have used or what you have mixed, and then you move on to talk about the survey that you have done, how you have chosen your target population, on what basis you have chosen your target population, how they are the appropriate population for your research, and then you display, and then you tell what are your hypotheses for the research, how you have finally proved your hypothesis or disproved your hypothesis through the survey. That is how it can be done. And initially when you're doing survey method, you can use the basic ELT papers are expected to have a few charts. So it is always better to present your findings in the form of charts also with explanations. But as I said, survey method is for budding researchers. It is always better to do a higher level of research where you conduct a pre-test, post-test, you get a lot of data and work with the data, analyze the data in variety of forms. That is always better, ma'am.
One thing I'd like to add here, of late, almost all institutions here in India have started to bring in an ethical committee which gives the clearance for you kind of research you're going to do with the live population. So if your research is going to involve people, or if you're going to have any other subjects for that matter, try to in prior to your research itself, frame your questionnaire or the methodology you're going to use, then get the clearance so that you're in the green light to proceed.
Yes, yes, yes. That is very important. Actually, it's very good that you mentioned, because people don't know that there is this kind of process that is there. People just think that I can randomly go and send a Google form link and collect data. That is not the case anymore. There is, as you said, there is a committee for that wants the data to be protected also. So yes, proper research before that is very, very important.
Also, I've seen your papers, and I've written a few papers where I've done a study with children while their parents are also alongside. So you'll have to keep the age factor in mind when you have children or students in there. And also, if you are going to have any funding, then you'll have to give statement about if there's going to be any conflict of ideas because a funding party was involved. And if your participant group is small, or if it's just a pilot study, then you'll have to inform that. So there are again a lot of things that you'll have to include at the end. But again, the structure is like how she said, but you'll have to include all these ethical things at the bottom. So anybody referring to your paper will know where it exactly stands.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for that answer, ma'am. The next question. What are the impacts of Gen Z students upon language teacher regarding their attitudes towards learning a language?
What do they mean by that? What are they?
I think of late, even if you do a small correction to somebody's language, they tend to get offended. So maybe they're asking in terms of how, to a Gen Z crowd, especially when you try to teach them language, what kind of an attitude do you expect them to have? Or maybe they're asking if how to handle an attitude from those crowd if you try to correct them or teach them. If I'm wrong, please, Miss Atik, post the very a little more clearer version for us in the chat
Yeah.
box.
But what I think is, see, that is the point now. Also, only in not, I will not say only in India, but in India at least, we are still acting as teachers to the students. We our role is not to be teachers. Our role is to be facilitators to the students. We just have to facilitate so that they can learn better. That is very important. And also, dealing with generation Z is of course difficult because they have their own slang, they have their own kind of evolved language that is very unclear to us, and what we speak is ancient to them. That is there. But then I think using media or connecting, because this media and technology is the only way that we can connect with this generation. So at least to achieve that connectivity, we have to see. There are a lot of teachers who are stuck in this digital divide. They don't want to learn technology, but they want to understand their students. That is not possible now. If you want to connect to your students, I think it is high time that we learn how to use this technology. Also, it is not wrong to even take help from the students. They take pride in doing all those things, helping teachers with the technology. They really like doing all those things. But once we get into this technological connect, then it becomes easier. Once you start using media in your classroom, they open up. Then you know the kind of interest that your students have. That will build a bridge that will make this learning process or this teacher student interaction a much better one. So I think media or technology is the way you can tackle these students.
I really agree with that. Anybody who's into social media or just try, taking their baby steps into a social media app will easily get dragged into that rabbit hole, and you'll eventually end up becoming a digital first person. So if you
Yes.
want to come across any news, it's not TV anymore, it's not radio anymore, it's your social media application where the meme
Yes.
creators or even the news channels post there, and that's the first interface where you get to come to know
Yes.
about whatever is happening around. And the same goes with all the memes or things that I'm not even sure if it's called memes anymore. I maybe they might have any
Come
new.
up with a new word.
Probably. So that's something that you might want to use to relate yourself with the students. Even yesterday we had Dr. Maitri share with us some memes that we've seen or might not have seen, to tell how it's all to connect the topic with us. And so that's a series, web series. It's about how school has started to know, adopt to the trends of students so that they try to keep in
What is the
touch.
name of the series? It got stuck when you mentioned the series name, so we're not able to hear all.
It's called Abbott Elementary.
Oh,
So
okay, okay, yeah, yeah, I've seen. Okay, yeah, that's a
you
nice show.
yeah, you can watch it on Hotstar. And there are different generations of teachers. There are elders, there are youngsters, and then there are people who just graduated to come and join. And you also can see a principal who's not really bothered. I think
Bothered about it.
any teacher, be it school or uh, college, can easily relate and then get the idea of how to deal with the Gen Z crowd or Gen Alpha for that matter if you're in school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My God. See,
So
even students know they like we send circulars to students through mail, whether they'll get to know if it is a holiday or whatever information is sent to them through circulars through mails. Initially, they'll send circular to classroom, the teacher will read. Now they send through mail. They don't even want that. Students now want it like in social media. Post it in the social media page of the college. We'll look at that and we'll know. They don't even want to open their Gmail has become ancient to them. They don't understand the generation Z. They don't have this concept of hierarchy or following a protocol that is not there in their I don't know, their ideology is completely different from us, so they think whatever we are doing is like waste of time.
next question we have is, can you please suggest some AI tools?
AI tools as in there are a lot of AI tools that are there. What can I say? I think we did a session on that, right? Various AI tools that can be used. Depends on for what you are using. As always, I'll say Chat GPT because I'll tell you based on the session now. Uh, from whatever I have discussed, you may need AI to design your tasks. For that, Chat GPT is more than enough just to create the tasks, right? For that, that is more than enough. You can get ideas. And also there's one more thing, we are so invested in Chat GPT that we completely forgot that there is something called Google. Even for a simple thing, we don't Google, we Chat GPT, right? I also do that. Then when I wanted a solid information, I I took it from Chat GPT. That was a wrong information. I somehow used it. Then when I started Googling, I was like, why did I even not go to Google and went to Chat GPT straight away for something that is, if you need something solid that is already available, go to Google. This is like I'm just putting a wake up call to everyone. Like kind of reduce using Chat GPT, start using Google more, explore. There are various sites from Cambridge and Oxford, various ideas that are provided by them on various activities that you can use in classroom, a variety of activities. So that is all already there. Use those activities. As teachers, it is not necessary to be very creative in activities. Choose activities that are already there so that your workload will get reduced. Find out which kind of activities are very efficient in getting the output. You put those on repeat mode, because unless students don't enjoy it, you can change it. But if they enjoy the activity, there is nothing wrong with repeating the activity again and again. You just change the content, right? Like my students absolutely enjoyed role play. Role play was there from the beginning till the end. So you don't need to show variety in your classroom. Stick to a few and use that throughout to get very effective results. That's what I'll say. And AI tools,
Probably works
variety are
better with younger children or younger generations. So if they get
there.
used to
Yes,
it, it's easier. And uh, instead of I would suggest a few websites that teachers can always rely on. You can, with the British Council, they have Learning English and Teach English. There are many resources
yes.
based on levels. So if you open that, you can see listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And in each, you will find from levels A1 till C2. So you
Mhm.
can
So
open.
this is what I said. So there are resources available, right?
Yeah,
But somehow we have stopped Googling, and if you Google, you will
end up
get all
with AI.
first page
Yes.
itself. Yeah, we just go to Chat GPT and it gives its own ideas and everything, and we take one idea and we ask it to formulate that idea, which is a complete waste of time. There are resources, not just very simple resources, as you said, very authentic resources that are available that can be right away directly used in classroom. But somehow we have forgotten all those things with
That's
this
true.
advent of AI.
And
Excuse me,
Yes.
uh, ma'am, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Ma'am, I had asked this question about the AI tools because I wanted to know since you said for the specific learning, I wanted to
Okay.
know have a course in English for the students of engineering second year, BTech second year.
Okay, ma'am.
So BTech second year, we do have situational writing and all, but then
Okay.
we have a semester with a span of 6 months. And in
Okay.
6 months, we have to cover the course. So, is there any tool that can I can use for them, so that we can have some, better interactive classes? Thank you.
Okay. I think for better interactive classes, giving activities to students is the best way to make them interact. AI tools can be used, at least for what the AI tools that I have used is only to create activities, as I said. I have not used any AI activities to make students interact more. Yeah, so that will be my answer. You can use tools to create activities, be it a post reading activity or while watching activity or all those things. But I don't know, I'm not quite sure how you can use AI tools to. There are tools that help students with their speaking, but that can be done by them individually, not in classroom.
Uh,
Yeah.
The session was very informative. My observation is for technical and management stream students have communication English for first semester, maybe at the beginning of the first year or in the last year, almost 6 months. Let me read and come to an understanding.
Okay.
And there are many students who come from outskirts. Is it possible for them to overcome the fear of English language? Is just a shorter duration. Is there any way forward? I think they mean to ask that in many engineering or management streams, the course is for a very short duration. So it's not possible for them to overcome the fear that they have about the language or to master it or at least to have a functional level knowledge over the language. So they're asking how to overcome this if this is a situation.
Especially for students who are from outskirts, uh, for most of them, I think from our experience as teachers also, I will not say it is possible for them to become a very affluent speakers of English, because most of them have been who have been studying English for 12 years are still not able to speak English when they come to college, right? So what we can do is in those 6 months, the kind of input that we give, the first step, I think, as teachers, we should remove the fear that is there in the students. This is all like we did a session earlier, right, Dr. Kavya, where we discussed about how we can achieve speaking in students.
Yeah, it's called the
Yeah,
speaking
it
shift.
exactly. The speaking shift. I kind of have to go back to that, because once you remove the fear of making mistake, or the fear of being made fun by other people or by their peer, that fear is the major factor there. Once the fear is removed, they'll somehow speak. They'll somehow speak. So I think as teachers, take steps to build a safe environment, at least for those 6 months where they'll not be ridiculed, at least inside the classroom, so that they'll take those first baby steps to start speaking, even if it is wrong. So once they get that confidence, see, confidence is the most important thing when it comes to speaking any language. If you have the confidence, we see so many people, so many outsiders in our country, in our place, in our district, in our state, speaking confidently. They speak confidently our language, they make mistakes, but still they speak confidently, right? So once the fear is removed, I think once they get the confidence, then speaking English, it will come automatically to them. It will come automatically. And after 6 months, we as teachers have to give a few ideas, or you suggest a few apps. You ask them to keep in touch with you, so that especially suggest them a few apps where they can continue practicing their English, so that they'll have a virtual tutor kind of thing. So the learning doesn't stop with those 6 months. It carries on. It carries on, because learning, it happens. We all learn English every day. Every day we learn something or the other. So the learning continues, and it doesn't stop within those first 6 months, or the 6 months that is there for them. That is what I'll say. Removing fear
You
is the
have
first step.
to make them keep practicing whatever they learn and engage in a conversation with somebody
Exactly.
every day with you. Please try not to bring in the vernacular or the mother tongue
Yeah.
inside the classroom. It's going to be a little bit difficult for children, or maybe they might comment, but you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
have to be bothered by it. If we want to make them see have visible results, then it's important for us to keep practicing it every day.
Exactly. And also we see the students who really want to get a job, who really want to go ahead and get ahead in their career, they actually do what we tell them to do, right? They go out of they go out of their way, they come and ask us what can be done. Can you suggest a few apps, or can you suggest something to improve my speaking? Can you suggest few courses? That also can be done. As teachers, after the 6 months that semester gets over, you can make a list of all the free courses or the courses that are available to improve their English, that is online, for a very small amount that they can afford, for a very affordable amount. That can also be done. If the students are really interested, they'll definitely go and do that. That will be like a push to them to continue learning the language.
Uh, if at all you'll have to suggest any one particular AI, I was referred this AI tool by a friend of mine. It's called Magic School AI. I've been told that this helps with lesson plan. I'm
Lesson
not sure
planning
what
and
is
all.
it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It helps with lesson plan and task designing and all those things. Magic School AI, yes.
I think it's a paid version, but if at all you pay, I've heard that it's very good at what it does. So Magic School AI is something that we can suggest you in particular. But again, when you have to do something, you'll have to understand the group or the mindset of your students, their background, and there are so many filters. And once you're able to have an analysis of those, then you'll have to again tune the lesson plan you've made that was prior to
Yes.
the beginning of the semester to
Mhm.
suit your classroom. So
Of course, of
relying
course.
completely on AI is not always the option
Yeah.
I would suggest you to opt
And
for.
recently, I gave a try on this Google's Notebook LLM. I don't know if you have used it, ma'am, but again, it does a lot of different things. It can create infographics, it can create a slide deck, can do a variety of things based on the content you give. Teachers can use it to reduce your workload on creating PowerPoints or creating infographics for students. Once you put the content, it completely analyzes it and it gives a variety of forms. You can choose which kind of output you need from the content. Everybody can give it a try. It is free also. Google's Notebook LLM. That was nice. That was nice to use. Especially, it reduces the workload of creating PowerPoints. If that is your major thing that takes your time, you can, as teachers, you can reduce that using Notebook LLM. Yes, it does a better job than GPT integrated with Canva. That is much better than all those things.
Yes, thank you for that info. So do we have any other questions? I think we're done with the questions, and thank you so much, Dr. Sarika, for engaging thoughtfully and giving us this constructive session. Your presentation has illuminated the possibilities of integrating contemporary media, not just the ones that students can no more relate to, but ones they actually come across every day, not through the OTT platforms, but also through social media these days, and collaborate that with language pedagogy. It's made us feel fresh and it's contextually relevant. The strategies will obviously work for Gen Z learners. And I truly and deeply appreciate the clarity of your insights, the pedagogic nuance you brought to the session, and your generous sharing of classroom based practices.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure coming back to create and doing all these sessions, giving it back to the